Ernest Holmes tells us, your soul belongs to the universe. Your mind is an outlet through which creative intelligence of the universe seeks fulfillment. This is your starting point for investigating the meaning of those impulses, longings, and desires which accompany you through life. You may accept that the source through which they come is real. You may accept that the universe is filled with a divine and infinite presence, perhaps the infinite of yourself, not the infinite of your limited self, but the infinite of the divine self you must be. You are to believe with the utmost simplicity and with complete faith that there is a pattern of your being, the real spirit of you, which is as eternal as God, as indestructible as reality, and as changeless as truth. This pattern is seeking to manifest through you now. So as you turn to that quiet place within, simply allow yourself to contemplate, what is that pattern that is seeking to express through you, as you, now? recognizing that presence of God right here and right now, and the beautiful silent stillness of this cloudy gray morning. Recognizing that presence of the divine in its love, its wisdom, its intelligence, its beauty, its joy, its power. I know that I am an expression of that one, and this is the truth of all who are gathered here in the sanctuary this morning and online. That divine one, that divine pattern is seeking its highest and greatest expression in, as, and through each and every one of us. So I speak my word this morning, knowing that that love that is God, that good that is God, is seeking to be present here, in, as, and through us, right here and right now. I know that the wisdom of the divine is expressing itself through Reverend Shari this morning as she shares her message with us, that the amazing love and beauty of the divine expresses itself through Sylvia as she shares her musical gifts and talents, and that divine essence is expressed through each and every person through their own unique gifts, their own unique experience and presence with themselves, with each other, all of us in community. For these blessings that are so great, beyond measure, I am so grateful. I raise up my heart in gladness and celebration, in excitement for what is yet to come, as that pattern is revealed more and more in each and every one of us. And so with that heart full of gladness, of confidence, of peace of mind, I simply release this word into the law to affirm the good that has already been experienced and all the good that is yet to be. And simply ask you and join me in saying, and so it is. And now some more music, or some new music, or not.
We're going to let some people in
Okay.
at the door. And then I'm going to do all right. So we're going to let some people in, and in the meantime, while we're doing that, we're going to model some hats. This is called my Hippie Hat. I like it. It's got a little old look to it, a little bit of hippie to it. Anyway, I like it. Anyway, the hats say kindness. Each hat says kindness on the left side, and then in the back it says is free. omcsl.org. So there's one kind. Then we have the chino cap, which is this is the one, everybody in the world loves. So I like that one too. Mm-hmm. I took one of each, so I have to buy one of each. And then we have the golfer's hat. This is the lightweight hat. So I always do that to it, but the golfer's hat. So yeah, so we have 3 different kinds of hats. I did the gray, well, green goes with a few things, but gray goes with everything. So anyway, they're $20, and we will have plenty of them. And anyway, I'm excited about it. Got those this weekend. UPS right at my door. All right, hi, welcome. Okay, so now, I understand that Sylvia has something special for Reverend Shari.
Mm-hmm, I do.
You do?
Yes.
Okay.
I promise to try to sing in tune.
A bunch of stuff, huh?
Yeah, different notes put together.
Okay.
I think they call it a song.
A song? Oh, I like that. So she's going to sing a song for us. Here we go. A medley, I think.
I believe so. All right. With much love to all. Let there be light, illuminate me. Let there be light, illumine my soul. Let there be light for all the world around me. I open my heart and let it flow. Open my heart and watch it grow. Let it flow, heart. Let it flow, let it flow. It's a miracle. Let there be light. For I sing the body electric. I celebrate the me yet to come. I toast to my own reunion when I become one with the sun. And I'll look back on Venus, I'll look back on Mars, and I'll burn with the fire of 10 million stars. And in time, we will all be stars. I sing the body electric. Yes, I glory in the glow of rebirth, creating my own tomorrow when I shall embody the earth. And I'll serenade Venus, I'll serenade Mars, and I'll burn with the fire of 10 million stars. And in time, we will all be stars. We are the emperors now, and we are the czars. And in time, we will all be stars.
Volume up, please. Reverend Sherry's even standing up. Look at that. She loved that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Nice
I hope I
job.
made your day, girl.
Big smile, big smile.
Made me cry.
Okay, so Reverend Sherry's going to be online. So, since you all are supposed to be looking at me, but you're going to be looking over there, you can turn your chairs. We don't need you to, creak your neck or anything like. Be comfortable as we watch Reverend Sherry, who is pretty amazing, as we all know. The other thing is that Reverend Sherry's going to be here January, February, March. So I'm putting her on the schedule to speak at least once a month. So I'm very excited about that. So Martin, are we ready to switch over there? Okay. So turn your chairs so you can be comfortable. Yeah. It's like being at the movies.
Oh my goodness. My eyes are all wet. Thank you so much, Sylvia. It was so beautiful. It made me cry. What a beautiful, beautiful surprise. I don't think I have anything to say after that. And Natasha, your prayer was so wonderful, seeking to express through us what is our pattern. And it's exactly what I wanted to talk about today. Our global theme this year is Living Everyday Wonder, as we talk about it. And I came back from Anton full of wonder, I have to say. It rocked my world being at Anton with everyone, and Reverend Suzette and Reverend Jerry. So grateful. So the monthly theme is on finances, and the weekly talk was supposed to be Let It Flow. And I got a download about sacred contracts. And a lot of that came from my time at Anton and listening to Milagros Phillips and her talk about contracts. And the download I got was the sacred contract. So what is our sacred contract with ourselves? And I really want to take this time to look at that relationship to ourself with regards to sacred contracts that we make to ourselves. So how do we live in this universal presence and hold true to the contract that we made to ourselves? And sometimes unbeknownst to us, we made a contract to ourselves. So do we hold back this energy of life in order to fit in, or keep our heads down and be invisible, as we maybe learned in childhood? So I want to start by breaking down the Ernest Holmes quote, and I thank Reverend Suzette again for bringing it up at Anton. And I love this quote, and it's taken me even deeper into spiritual contracts. So this quote, and I've asked Martin to do the PowerPoint for me instead of me trying to do that and talk. So Ernest Holmes quote, and I broke it down this way for a reason. What the world needs is spiritual conviction followed by spiritual experience. I would rather see a student of the science prove its principle than to have him or her repeat all the words of wisdom that have ever been uttered. It's far easier to teach the truth than it is to practice it. So just for today, let's break this down and see how it could relate to sacred contracts. So I'm going to define what a contract means in our world of effects. For a contract to be valid and recognized by common law, it must include certain elements. There's an offer, acceptance, consideration, intention to create legal relations, authority and capacity and certainty. Without these elements, a contract is not legally binding and may not be enforced by the courts. And I'm talking about the courts of opinion as well. We all have these contracts. We have mortgages, and we've signed away our life to our mortgage, and maybe a car contract, a rental contract, and even online we have contracts. There are stipulations to the contracts. They can be renegotiated. And so we're pretty careful about our agreements with all the different aspects of our lives, right? You know, most of us, we read the contracts before we make this agreement. So we know what we're doing when we sign on the dotted line. And it's very helpful and very needed in this society, which seems to become this litigious society that we're living in. But, and this is a very big but for me, what is the system of our soul contract that we live under? This sacred contract is what we made even before we decided to enter this world. Those are the contracts that I am curious about and want to speak about. The key is that we come into this world with equal worth, but not equal baggage. So it's important to know what our contract to ourself really is. Recently, I discovered that I had a contract, and it was a loyal contract. I had this thing about loyalty that usurped all else, that, you know, I saw some people using some other people's things, and there was an integrity issue. And so through my mentor session that I have regularly, I talked about this loyalty. And we really discovered that it wasn't so much the loyalty that I had, but it was blind loyalty. So it was a loyalty, it was an unconscious belief that I established as a child. And what else I discovered was that this loyalty as a child silenced me. Living in the family that I lived in, I had to be loyal to one person. And in that, it really silenced me. So we have these blind loyalties, even in society now. You know, there's a loyalty to follow a certain political party. There's a loyalty to follow maybe a religion. It's just the idea of examining that loyalty. It's not that it's bad or that it's good. It's a loyalty that gets to be examined. So if we have these tribal loyalties, just check and see if there's a way that it may be silencing your voice. So breaking down the Ernest quote, I wanted to start with what the world needs is a spiritual conviction followed by spiritual experience. Let's break this down in the example of loyalty. As children, we become loyal to what our parents' beliefs are. They say something and we believe that it's true. We've made them our external gods. But as we grow older and we become adults, we discover what resonates with us. And we discover what our own body of beliefs are becoming. But that doesn't mean that we don't have those old beliefs inside of us. Each generation has a legacy that they pass down. And some of it is great, and some of it is something to examine. You know, in the Bible, it talks about sins of our fathers go so many generations after them. I wouldn't call them sins. I would say missing the mark. It was great for that generation, and then it's not so great now. And so each generation has a gift to give to the next generation. And so because of that growth and what's natural for us, we are able to say they did the best they could with what they knew at that time. Like generations before us did the best they could. So once we realize that each generation is doing the best they can, we get to move on. And there's no forgiveness about it. It's just that it was that day and age. And that's the contracts that they made to be able to be in this world. So Ernest Holmes says, the world needs spiritual conviction. The world needs spiritual conviction. This means catching our own spiritual conviction. Recognizing the call to open our hearts and minds and just new ideas, that we're being called and we're being aware to realize and resonate. He goes on, Ernest Holmes goes on to say, followed by spiritual experience. Once we open our hearts and minds, we begin to discover and uncover our sacred contract. We do the work that makes us loyal to ourself. And then we go out into the world and discover more and more what that means for us. So how does a student of science prove its principle? By remaining loyal to our sacred contracts. We get to uncover our old beliefs that have been buried in there. It's in the unconscious. We don't even know they're there most of the time. Until we learn through treatment, prayer, meditation, seeing a practitioner, having a mentor, those ways begin to develop our own way of uncovering and releasing these old beliefs. But first, let's talk about denial. I've heard people say, oh, I'm in denial. Well, that's not the way denial works. If you think you're in denial, then you're not, because you see it. Denial has a way of staying in the nooks and crannies of our unconscious. And so it's tricky because our old beliefs are buried in those places. But then something happens that triggers a response inside of us. We get these feelings, we get these different responses. It's pressed on what I call our sacred cows. And Reverend Jerry talked about one of them last week when he talked about I'm on a limited income. That's a sacred cow that was passed down through generations. So we carry these old beliefs and then we get nudged awake. So it's thank God for the feelings that we have. Thank God for the sacred cows, because they uncover and unveil something that has been hidden deep in those nooks and crannies. So we are body, mind, and spirit. We have all that going for us, and we have all that working for us, which I like to say. It gives us clues and senses and helps us to wake up. These little twinges that we get are messages from our soul and our soul's contract to wake up, stay alive, and recognize it. So this sacred contract that we have helps us discover who we really are. It's up to us to see inside what exactly we are and what we're doing. Ernest Holmes says it's far easier to teach the truth than it is to practice it. That sentence alone is something to really deepen into in your meditations. We know the words, we walk the talk. Do we practice it when we get those little twinges or those sacred cows that come up? Do we practice what we know? And those doubts and fears and worries lead us away from our sacred contract. But the key is we have to see them first. And this is the practice that Ernest Holmes was talking about. And then, just like any other contract, we get to renegotiate. There's always a way back into our center through these renegotiations, or what I call forgiveness. We give ourselves permission to forgive ourselves. We give ourselves permission through forgiveness, through coming back and centering, through our meditations, through our prayer work, through our treatment work. All of that is a way to give ourselves permission to release any of the old generational thoughts that we have inside of us. So my question is, what is the sacred contract you made to yourself? Most people that walk in the world don't even know that they have a contract. And that's why when I said we come into the world, we all come into the world with equal worth, but not equal baggage. So it's up to us to eliminate that baggage that we've come into. So is it possible that your contract is to love yourself, no matter what comes up? If you find your sense of self in the midst of adversity, can you come back to loving yourself? Because once you discover your sacred contract, there will come times that there's a tendency to want to break it apart, want to renegotiate, because all the stuff that comes up to doubt ourselves is why we need to have a contract to begin with. So let's catch a glimpse of what that contract might be. First of all, I want to talk about a contract that I made years ago. Unbeknownst to me, I didn't even know about sacred contracts at the time. But when Nelson, my husband, and I decided we were going to get married, we've been through relationships and everything that comes with them. So when we decided to do our marriage vows were not to each other. Our marriage vows were to our spiritual growth. We vowed and took a spiritual vow that we would be together for our spiritual growth, not to each other, but to our spiritual growth. And once that happened, if anything got in the way of that, or if our marriage and our relationship no longer served that purpose, we were okay to move on. We've been together for 25 years now, and this is our spiritual growth. This contract that we made, not to each other, but to our spiritual growth. And because of that, I would go and I don't think Nelson has ever been to Agape when I was going to Agape. And then he discovered Course in Miracles with Ken Wapnick, and Ken Wapnick happened to be down in Temecula, so we moved to Temecula. So both of us have our way of growing spiritually, and we don't negate the others. And that's because of that contract to our spiritual growth. So let's discover our spiritual contract today. I'm going to do a little exercise with you. And if you can, just close your eyes and see if you can't catch a glimpse of this contract. Just imagine, I'm going to use the qualities of God because I love them so much. And because we are that spirit of the living God, we are that. We have these qualities within us. So if you can close your eyes and just, as I read them out, see if there's not a twinge or something that catches you in the vision of what the beginning is of your own spiritual contract. And hold on to these qualities just for a minute as I ask you some of these questions. So the qualities of God are abundance, balance, beauty, freedom, joy, love, order, peace, power, unity, oneness, wisdom, and wholeness. Now, if you can, just take a breath. And see if any of those resonate. And then I'm going to ask you some questions. How is my sacred contract trying to emerge through me at this time? And don't worry if you don't get an answer right away. These are the questions you can take with you and practice in the meditation. How is my sacred contract trying to emerge through me at this time? What habits do I need to change to become the essence of my sacred contract? What habits do I need to change? What is resonating in my life that aligns with my sacred contract? What is resonating in my life? Could be harmony, which is a God quality. Could be beauty, which is creativity. Could be love. So allow it to sink in and just have patience and faith that these answers will come. This is the practice that Ernest Holmes was talking about when he talked about being resolute. And remember, you've arrived on this planet with this divine mandate, this sacred contract that is deep within your soul, calling you into communion with it. This mandate is to catch and reveal this sacred contract that you made with Spirit's vision of your life. We all come in for a reason. We all come in to serve that contract, to serve Spirit in that way. So as we cultivate and practice this mindset, this way of life, then we are sure to find that luminous path to our own sacred contract. There are endless opportunities that will present themselves to you. So inviting you into this agreement is a moment by moment discovery. And this is a soul contract that can't be broken. You can move on from a mortgage. You can move on from a car. You can't move on from yourself. It doesn't matter how many times you felt unworthy or frustrated or fearful or anything else. This contract is your soul's contract. So as you come back to that and feel the presence of that contact, you walk in that vibration of expanding good on earth. This is our mandate now. This is our human incarnation on the planet right now. This is the work that we do through that Ernest Holmes quote. This is the very nature of who we are. I had to turn my heat off. It's a little chilly in Minnesota. So I want to close with a poem from Chaylin Harkin. She wrote a book called Susceptible to Life. And then after I read this, I'd like to have Martin put up the affirmation for Om, and we'll close with that one. This is called Arranged Marriage. And this is what your soul's contract is. It's your arranged marriage. This life is an arranged marriage between you and your own soul. You might resist this for years and throw a huge fit. I wanted him. What about her? But when you finally get to that bridal chamber, you'll discover every intimacy with the other is found here within your own soul. So if we can come together for the affirmation. I don't think I have it. I have to read it myself. Oh, hold on. It's far easier to teach the truth than it is to practice it. And what we call ourselves are practitioners because we practice the truth. So let's read the Om affirmation out loud. I am an expression of God, born into the richness and abundance of the indwelling presence. Today, I walk upon my world, consciously creating oneness within and around me. And so it is. Amen. And I believe it's time for my beautiful singer of the light, not mine, but the one, the only Sylvia.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, we have a.
Welcome, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Thank you.